Let's talk about landing paid brand partnerships because we work hard on our content and we all know that exposure and comp stays don't pay the bills. When it comes to working with brands, it isn't necessarily the creators with the highest followings that are landing paid campaigns, but the ones who know how to properly pitch and negotiate. Luckily, our guest for this episode, influencer marketing expert Nina Zadeh of Sidewalker Daily, will be breaking down exactly how to see success with this. Not only does Nina have experience working with tourism boards on their own influencer marketing strategy, but she's collaborated with major travel companies and has helped the creators in her own community negotiate 5- and 6-figure brand deals. She even negotiated a $200,000 campaign. In this video, she'll take us behind the scenes to share clever pitching strategies, powerful negotiation tactics, details about what brands are actually paying for, tips for creating a consistent workflow for landing paid brand collaborations, and more. Now, we'll be covering a lot, so if you want to just relax without having to take notes, I've got you. I created a free high-ticket brand collaborations cheat sheet based on Nina's tips. You can grab it inside my free travel blogger resource library, which is linked in the video description or via the QR code on your screen. It includes 75 plus checklists, tutorials, and templates, all meant to help you grow your traffic, email list, and income. Now, I've got another free gift for you as well. You can also click my affiliate link, again, video description or the QR code on your screen to sign up for a free workshop that I'm co-hosting with Nina at the end of the month on how to land travel partnerships. You'll learn how to write pitches that stand out, what materials you absolutely need to land brand deals, tips for pivoting from comp stays to paid collaborations, and more. Plus, there will be loads of examples and implementation tips to help you see success with this. In fact, Nina will walk you through an exact pitch email that works and break down every part of it. Feel free to even pause this video to go grab those freebies. You back? Then let's dive in. Well, Nina, thank you so much for taking the time to share your tips. To start, can you just share more about yourself, your business, and how you got into influencer marketing?
Yeah. So thank you so much, Jessie, for having me. I am so pumped to be here today and talk to your community of creators, especially around all things travel. I'm really passionate about it. Like Jessie mentioned before, in my experience has always been a little bit brand side. So I feel like I can really share a good perspective for you all listening in today, just kind of what brands are looking for, tourism boards are looking for. So I come from that PR side before I built Sidewalker Daily, and our PR experience, like our experience in the influencer world, started on brand side. But it's funny because I actually had like a little bit of an aha moment when I was putting together influencer marketing campaigns, press trips, paid press trips, non-paid press trips. When I was doing all of that, I remember being like, wait a second, like here I am negotiating with creators and they're the entrepreneurs, like they're the underdogs. And again, this was about 10 years ago, and being like, I want to pivot and I want to help creators, but having that brand side experience. So that's a little bit about like our experience in influencer marketing specifically. And then now, since then, we built Sidewalker. It's a creator community, but all different types of creators. So we don't just talk to travel, we talk to all types.
Amazing. And you mentioned Unpaid. So I do want to dive into that a little bit. I mean, you see the behind the scenes of so many different deals. Why do you think talented travel creators get stuck in that cycle of unpaid trips? And what is the first change that they need to make to be seen as a paid partner?
I love this. I love this question because it's really that word stuck. And so many people in all industries, guys, get stuck. We get in career ruts, people, it's not just travel creators that get stuck sometimes. Like I feel like that moment happens in a lot of spaces, but I have seen a lot of creators kind of take free trip after free trip after free trip in terms of unpaid trips. And I guess my philosophy is a little as follows, like, you know, unpaid press trips in the beginning of a creator career, like I have big creators who are still doing unpaid press trips, you know, like they have mega followings and all of that. And it ultimately comes down to, at least for those creators, they're kind of like, okay, well, this is an opportunity that serves me, right? Where we get stuck is when you feel like you're getting the short end of the stick, when you feel like you're getting taken advantage of, because it's like, okay, well, they'll pay for my stay or they'll pay for this, but I'm not getting like any out of pocket. And I think that there's structural changes, right? Like strategic changes, but there's also mindset changes. So how do you as a creator position yourself, like taking a press trip and saying something as clear as like, well, thank you so much. Like this trip is going to be done in a good faith effort. Like I typically don't do this, like kind of setting that standard and letting them know I'm happy to, you know, especially if it's a PR agency, like let them know, like this is a good faith effort to develop rapport with your agency or to really kind of, develop a relationship here. But you're letting them know from the beginning that like this isn't something you're going to be accepting moving on. So especially agency route, right? Because they're doing so many press trips with so many clients. So if you're not clear and you're not advocating for yourself, they're just going to assume you're okay with it. Like for them, it's like, well, you're getting a free trip. What are you complaining about? So I think it does take the creator to like vocally advocate and being really upfront with that so that, if they do take that unpaid once, twice, that I always kind of say, like, when you do something for once, it's just like, it should just be a one-time thing, right? Especially if it's within a PR agency. And then I think a good way to also kind of position or tip that creators can do is that post-trip monetization. So like, I'll give you an example. I was working with a hotel and there was a creator who pitched us this big fancy content package. And we were like, no, we've never worked with you. Like, we don't know you. Hey, come stay on property. Like, we're happy to bring you on a press trip. No is an easy answer for anyone. It's the first place a lot of conversations start is no. No one just says, sure, yes, let's give you our budget, right? So no is comfortable, no is safe for brands. But what this girl ended up doing, me being hotel side, she took the opportunity and she ended up pitching us like, hey, here are the assets that I shot while I was on ground. I actually put together some sample things, or here's a portfolio. If you want, I could license packages. We ended up buying the entire photo roll. I think it was for like 8,000 flat, and she basically put together an entire package or whatever. So this post-trip monetization or going back to your partner, even though you've done something for free, but again, letting them know that you're happy to work with them or you're flexible in your licensing, I think it just shows that you're treating yourself as a business owner because you're coming to them with that sales mentality and that sales strategy. And just like last little piece here, is that because businesses like hotels and tourism boards, like they're paying people, they have budget, right? So it's how are you presenting? Are you presenting as a hobbyist or are you presenting as like, hey, I'm a production agency or I'm a freelancer or this is actually like I'm a small business owner. Like what's the verbiage you're using? Or are you just kind of like a floater and they're like, oh, this isn't really a business because businesses want to pay businesses ultimately,
Yeah, like giving that little professional edge. And you talked about this a little bit, like paying for the photos. So I want to get into a little bit about when it comes to pitching. I think many creators get confused about what tourism boards and brands will actually pay for and what they want. So what have you found brand partners are actually willing to pay for?
I'm going to be really honest here when it comes to putting money on the table and like signing a check. I just find that content beats influence in travel specifically, not in the industry, but in travel. So when, Four Seasons is doing, I don't know, a press trip, like everyone wants to stay there. So paying for an influencer, like paying for a room, paying someone to post, it doesn't always kind of match up. However, I'm not saying Four Seasons, I'm saying they as in like the collective are paying for photography, for social media content, like they are paying for assets that are revenue generating for them. So I feel like content positioning is so important. I have a girlfriend who worked with a major tourism board. She created some sort of video asset or something enough that this tourism board actually comes back to her yearly to license. So when you think about, especially tourism board side, I mean, this, Jesse, right? Like look at all the conferences that tourism boards pay to go to, from IMM to ITB Berlin. They're going to World Trade Market. They're investing heavily in these trade shows. Well, they need the assets to share their destination with the world, right? So it's not just thinking social media content. It's thinking, hey, can I put together a video for this brand to share at their booth, at a big conference? Or is it some sort of, helping them with their photo assets on their website, just thinking a little bit broader too about the content. Content can be writing, content can be, emails and website visual, newsletter content, and visual content for their newsletter. So just kind of broadening the scope, but budget around content. Like there's always money for marketing materials that are going to make you money,
Yeah, I just went to a blogger meetup and someone was saying that they just did a big licensing thing just for like raw video footage, like raw clips for UGC, but they didn't even need to edit them. It was like she took a ton of different clips and then she just licensed that raw footage, which makes so much sense. I feel like I'm so much more of a photographer, so I'm always thinking like photography licensing. But I was like, oh, I keep hearing, a lot of people do UGC nowadays. That makes so much sense.
Yeah. And I think in general, like you want people get really tripped out. Like, well, what do people pay for? What do people pay for? You know how you find that out? By developing relationships with people. Like, no one's just going to come and be like, hey, we're going to pay for this, that, the other. So, like, also, nurture these relationships, go to these conferences, meet these people on the brand side, go to your past partners, send them a happy new year card. I don't know, like develop rapport, discovery calls, treat yourself again as a business, nurturing those relationships because networking isn't just having a person on LinkedIn. It's building that network so that when you do reach out to them and you're like, hey, what are you guys working on in Q1? They're going to be forthright with their answer.
I'd love to get into the numbers a little bit. Is there a certain number of followers, page views, or any other metric that bloggers and influencers and creators should be aiming for before asking for compensation when pitching a partnership?
This is a great question and something I get asked all the time. People want like a magic number. And here's what I feel. And this is just me being like really straight up here. It must be my coffee today. Ultimately, what it comes down to, y'all, you're either pitching influence. Hey, brands, I got people. They like me. They trust me. You're pitching influence, right? You're pitching your audience, your people, or you're pitching your content, right? So if you were to come to me and say, what followers do I need? I'm like, okay, well, what are you pitching? Like, are you pitching content? You can have 0 followers pitching content. The most successful photographers, videographers, people are not social media stars. They have amazing portfolios. They're building up their websites. Like they're going a different route, right? Like I work with this videographer for a lot of work. He doesn't even have a social. So when you think about content, 0 followers. It's not a follower game. It's not a numbers game. Now let's call a spade a spade. If you're pitching influence, like, well, do you have influence? Forget the numbers. Do you have influence? Are people clicking on, your link in bio? Do you have data? Are there stats to prove it? Right? So one of the strategies I like to tell a lot of the creators in my membership program and in my community at a whole is test your influence. Test it. Run a fake giveaway for yourself. Do a ManyChat automation that you're going to do like 5 places to visit in Portugal. Comment Portugal to get the link. How many people are clicking? Like almost as you're the marketer for your own business, tracking these clicks, tracking these conversions, and treating yourself as if like, okay, I'm going to make a case study on myself. I'm going to go in and pretend that Portugal hired me for this, and I'm going to do a whole recap. And that's why I don't like to do numbers because you could see a gal that has 5,000 followers get, 100 clicks on something, right? Or 50 shares on a piece of content or downloads or email signups. When we think about email signups, opt-ins, think about traditional marketing. Brands are paying anywhere from $5 to $7 an email. If you're able to do a fake giveaway and you got, 300 emails times 7, like you're able to now do the math of, oh, wait, well, that's what it would have cost. I'm doing it for myself. Now I can leverage. So I don't like to do any hard, fast numbers because I just don't think it exists. Like I'm not going to tell anyone a magic number. I have people with 1 million followers that I work with, Jesse, that don't make $1. Truly, this big YouTuber does not make $1. So it's not a follower thing. It's like, again, like, am I going to he pitched myself as this business. One side note I would like to say though about following and local creators. Okay. If you are a creator that specializes in local content, hyper local, the Raleigh market, the Miami market, the New York City, like you have a niche around local, I tend to find that in those instances, the follower count is not as important because you're basically saying, I have an audience that is so hyper specific to your destination. So again, when I work with a property in South Florida, do I want to work with the big Texas creator and Cali creator? Or do I want to work with a micro Miami creator that's going to actually drive people under? So again, this numbers thing is almost like it's like a distraction. It's a distraction from you thinking strategically about who you're pitching. If I personally have seen creators with very small followings, 2,500 followers, 1,500 followers, local, specific, centered on an audience saying, hey, I'm in a driver market. Like my audience, though small, we're mighty. And a lot of our people are driving to your destination for weekend getaways. You are a better fit than the 1 million follower California gal who cannot push the needle for you. So I just want creators to think about things and not stress themselves with numbers. And it's about getting really nimble and strategic and not trip yourself out, because the numbers game can trip you out and it never ends. As big as you get, you always want more and more and more and more. And I am so like adamant about this. Like, your following does not equal your bank account. It does not equal how successful you are, because I can see people who don't have massive followings that are making millions a year. So I just really like to stress the follower anxiety to kind of wash away and just kind of replace that with, okay, how am I going to actually think about this in the most strategic way?
I'm sure a lot of people listening will love to hear that, especially because I feel like a lot of people have, either the micro audiences or they have the creator skills. One thing you mentioned that I think might be a new idea to people, can you just quickly define the driver market part of things?
Yes. So that could be called so many things. A lift market, the driver market. Like, let's think about it this way. I'll talk driver and then we'll talk lift. There's a lot of like in between. So let's just say you are a Miami creator and you're pitching the Orlando tourism board, right? You're saying, hey, there's like a 4-hour drive for me. So if I was a creator, and this is a tip for anyone listening in, think about what are the cities that are in an hour away from you, 2 hours away from you, 3 hours away from you. So we can leverage that in our pitch, saying, hey, I'd love to position you as a road trip destination or a weekend getaway. If you are in that hour market, it could even be a day trip. So I'm literally thinking about like driving. Now, lift market is more like nonstop flights. So if you are a creator, I would literally go on Expedia or whatever you use, or Google search, direct flights from Miami International. You're going to see every city that you have a direct flight to. Now, if you have 1,000, 1,500 followers, 2,000 followers that are hyper local and you're pitching to Houston, but you want to position, hey, I'm from Miami. Houston's a direct flight, hop, skip, and a jump in 2.5 hours. I could show my audience why your destination should be on their list. That's a really interesting pitch, because you're again being strategic. You're saying, don't worry about my followers. Look where my people are from. There's a direct flight. So that means, we're connected. And I remember being on the tourism board side, we used to host events in key markets, always with a nonstop flight, because we're like, oh, we want to get like the Canada, or we want to get, this type of creator. We're going to go to Houston. We're going to go here. So airline and tracking direct flights is also really important.
I love that tip. I think that'll be kind of a new, interesting thing for people to think about. And as we're talking about pitching, let's talk about who to pitch. So how can creators narrow down the brands and tourism boards that would most likely say yes to their pitch?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, right? So we kind of talked about it like briefly in terms of like, okay, who are the brands that, especially for travel, like audience base, what are the like overlaps? But if you're trying to get yes, like think of low hanging fruit, right? Like low hanging fruit are brands that maybe you have a past relationship with, or you've done a gifted collab with, or you have some sort of warm intro, right? Like for me, that's always like the best place to start. When I'm putting, when my pitching students, when we're putting our leads list together, we're always going to have a column for past partners, past gifted people. We have someone that we know, because those warm hits are always the best. Regarding low hanging fruit pitches, obviously those are like within your niche, right? So if you're looking as a travel creator, like we talked about, looking at those nonstop routes, thinking about brands that naturally fit your lifestyle. But I also want to encourage everyone to not let the niche blind them. So, every time I ask a travel creator when I onboard them, or they're, we're chatting, they'll be like, I'm like, who do you want to work with? And everyone's telling me suitcases and, air tags and all of that. And again, I get it. It makes sense. You're in travel. You want to work with a suitcase, two peas in a pod. I'm not hating on that, but you're not the first to think of that. So how do we get a little bit more creative when we pitch outside of our niche? So I try to get creators to think about what are the brands that integrate in your travel lifestyle that are not travel centric, but that fit a story. Because ultimately, when you pitch, you're pitching an angle, a story, something that excites the brands. So one of my favorite case studies is a travel creator that I got to work with, and her biggest brand deal, I think, was $17,000 or $19,000 brand deal. We're talking almost $20,000 in the travel niche. It wasn't a suitcase. It wasn't a packing cube. It was a popcorn company. And I love this story because you would popcorn, what? But again, travel friendly snack, road trip essential, healthy. We're doing road trips all summer. I don't know how the positioning was just exciting. And the good thing that everyone that's listening in, because Jesse, you have an amazing travel community, you guys have these beautiful backdrops. Like imagine a popcorn company being able to be in the Sedona Red Rocks one week and then 4 months later in the Catskills and then 3 months later, like what that would take from a production standpoint to pay a production team, from a footage standpoint to have like our popcorn in the mountains, but also by the beach and also on a cruise and also in the car. Like travel lends itself to beautiful backgrounds and brands want to integrate in these spaces. So just kind of like thinking about when you pitch, selling that vision and, maybe putting a mood board together that says, hey, brand, I'll be visiting this destination. Like, check out my mood board. It's attached, right? And then now they see the Sedona Red Rocks. And they're like, I'd love to bring your brand with me. So just really not letting the niche limit you, but being creative in your pitch.
I just wrote that down, the mood board thing, because I'm going on a trip soon. I'm like, that is such a good idea.
Well, I want to share something for you, if I may, because you travel so much. You could also give your potential brands an opportunity, be like, hey, listen, these are the next 4 places I'll be visiting in the next 6 months. Like I'll be visiting, X, Y, Z, whatever. Like I have a gal who's in beauty and she was pitching, she was telling the brands, hey, I'll be in Morocco, I'll be in Dubai, I'll be in South Florida and Chicago. And she put her deck that had all 4 images. So she was like, you can either be in all the cities, you can be in one city, and like selling it in this way. It's just so interesting, right? So you can pitch per destination with one mood board, or if you're a traveler that has a bunch of upcoming trips and y'all already know that, you can say, hey, like, this is my entire scope of travel for the next 4 months. I'd be happy to integrate you in all destinations, just to think about, giving the brand that option. Because think about it, they're now going to get such a variety of content.
That is so clever. I love that. Yay. And then building on that, we're talking about pitching. Yes. When it comes to what to include in a pitch, I know this is where people get pretty tripped up. How can travel creators confidently pitch paid partnerships without feeling awkward or salesy? And should they be sharing rates or asking for payment in that initial email or waiting a little bit?
I love this. So rates right away. No. But let's start at the beginning. I think one thing as a business owner, what we all need to do, right? Everyone listening in is trying to make this a business. So we need to remove the fear of sales. And why do we need to do this? Because when you feel like you're selling something and you're not confident in that sell, you're really just saying, I don't think I can add value to you. And I know this sounds woo-woo, and I know this sounds like, but again, it's that mindset piece. Like you literally if you're afraid to sell, you're subconsciously saying like, hey, I can't do the job, right? This is a business. You are a business. Businesses want to work with businesses, right? They don't want to work with you because they like you, because you're nice, because, they think you're funny or pretty. It's a job. Are you going to help them move the needle? Are you solving a problem for them? Are you giving them content so they can sell? Or are you giving them influence so they can sell? I mean, it's really the bottom line. And I know that's like a sad way to look at it, but like ultimately, that's why they're hiring you, right? So as a business owner, you need to think, okay, I need to get more confident in my pitches. So how do I do that? Like really refining my media kit to be a visual document, something that really stands out, something that I'm like, wow, I feel so proud to send this. Like there's that visual aha, like, wow, this looks good. It feels safe. There's a psychological thing that happens when a brand sees a media kit that is branded and feels professional. They're like, oh, she's done this before. Even if you've never even have, it feels like you had, right? Leaning into past results as well, like in your pitch, right? Saying things like tourism boards like X, Y, and Z have trusted me. Sometimes it's name dropping in a way. You're not saying they've paid me to do this. You're just saying have trusted me. So if you're entering a pitch and you want to, make sure you include that as a line to add that credibility marker, in your email signature, having some credibility markers in there as well. And, one of the things I tell my more advanced creators in my program is don't be afraid to build those case studies. If you've gotten paid before, build a really beautiful case study or include it in your media kit, because you want to be able to say in your pitch. I've also, attached a media kit, which shows a sample case study of a past tourism board I've worked with. I'd love to share those results with you. Quiet, right? So that way they're like, oh, I want to go and look at it. And, that's why we don't talk money on the table, because it's kind of like you only have this one email. You don't want to overburden them with everything. What is the goal of the email? What is the goal of the email? The goal of the email is either to get them on a call or get them intrigued and to respond. Because the magic and money is not happening in email one. It's kind of like at the bar, right? You go up to someone, you're going to ask for their phone number right away. So like that magic happens in getting them to respond to you or getting them on a call. Money happens in the proposal stage. This is where you are putting a package together for your client. Like I literally, before this call, Jesse, I was talking to a mom creator in the travel space, working with her. She got on a call with a small tourism board. Again, how did it work? Cold outreach. Got, pitched some exciting ideas about that she wanted to share. Strong opening line. Brand was interested. Brand gets on a call, is warm, friendly, asks the right questions, shares ideas, asks them, okay, I'm going to go ahead and put a proposal together. And then the proposal is when we talk money. That's when we can put package A and B together. But we don't want to do that in the beginning because you don't even know what type of money they have. And she said on the call, she was like, I'm so happy I got clarity around budget because now I can customize my proposal to their budget.
I kind of have two questions on that. Do you mention, like in the initial email, is there a mention of like hopping on a call to discuss packages or just the call?
No. Like it's more like I'd love to hop. Okay, let's walk through a pitch. So it could be something like, with Q1 underway or with Q2 coming up or with the summer season or spring break travel, whatever that angle is, I have some really great content ideas that I am going to be executing on or that I'm planning for. I'd love to get you guys involved. Do you have some time to jump on a quick call so I can share the vision? Like, I'd love to share a bit more of what I'm creating and how we can get you guys in on this. That's the energy. And, you're not saying like, I want to talk offer or package. You're like, I'm going to do content or I'm making these things or I want to share more. Because once the client gets on the call, you're able to ask again, be friendly, be warm, ask these questions, and then be like, okay, well, this sounds great. I'm going to go ahead and put a proposal together. And again, if they're like, oh, we don't pay creators, if you've run into stumbles, we can always like work through those stumbles. But the idea is on a call, you're at least able to shoot your shot a little bit better.
Got it. And are you typically asking them for their budget and then doing the proposal?
Typically, yes. Like on a call, you would want to be able to ask the client, okay, well, I'm going to put a proposal together. Is there like a number I should stay under? Or, does your team have a budget in mind that'd be really helpful for me to put it together? You're going to sometimes have chicken and the egg. They're going to be like, well, how much does it cost? And like, no one wants to talk first. A tip I always tell creators, when you get on that call, you guys, like, you don't have to talk money. You can always say something like, listen, let me give it a think. After everything, I got a bunch of notes, right? Let me give it a think. And I'm going to put something together that like is going to be a win-win. That's the energy, win-win. If they don't want to speak first, And of course, like these are things that as you start to put yourself in what I call the arena and pitch more, that's what I want my students to do. I try to help them build that pitching muscle so that they feel like, okay, well, I can do this. Like I can get on calls because of course the first couple of times are a little scary,
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, wow. That was really, really helpful. I want to build on that a bit with the whole monetization, pitching type thing. Landing a 6-figure brand deal is obviously a dream of many creators. So I'd love to go behind the scenes a bit of the $200K partnership you negotiated. How were you able to negotiate such a high-paying collaboration? Like any tips there?
Yes. I want to give a tip, and then I also want to share another story. So if I forget, remind me. I'm my British girl that does UGC for food companies. Okay. So the $200,000 partnership, in full transparency, this was a year-long partnership that was pitched. So this isn't 200K for one reel. And I think people get really thrown off when they hear 6 figures. They're like, oh my God, like for one post. No, we're not Kim Kardashian here. Okay. These are year partnerships. But I know for a fact, and I can't name drop on here, but I know for a fact that some of the big ambassador programs that you guys all know and love in travel are hovering at 150, 170, 180, close to that number. Okay. But these are year commitments. So that's the first thing we need to know. The second thing that we need to know is that there is a heavy push on content. So the creator is producing content for the brand and they're also posting. So it's a double swinged piece. Like they're creating assets and they're also posting. Now, this works really, 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 really well when it's a brand that is something that is so a part of your life. So in this scenario, in the RV niche, right? Like they're an RV creator, something that you would always have access to, something that feels so natural and easy. Like if you were a big partner for a big travel website, but you're traveling all the time, that makes sense because you could always be like, okay, boom, booking my next flight. So these partnerships work really well when it's easy to make content because you actually are using, that SaaS tool or product or whatever. So just to speak on that. So, set of deliverables for influence, consistent content stream as well. And it was a 12-month collaboration. I know that $200,000 sounds like a lot of money. And I do think though, as being on the brand side and marketer side, I think I need to pop the bubble for everyone listening. Because when you think of small businesses in America, at least, these are considered, I believe, don't quote me, but I believe that small businesses in America is considered making 5 million in revenue. Okay. In revenue, your local gym, your business, they're like making around 5 million in revenue, maybe less. People pay for marketing. So, a $5 million company is allocating 2 to 500,000 in marketing. I mean, this is crazy for you guys because we don't make that money, or you may not be making that at the time, make 5-6 million a year. But for some companies, like again, small businesses, it's not a shocking number. So it is for people. I have personally seen a $2 million budget land on my desk. So when you, again, and this is a big tech company that we all know and love, and that $2 million budget was for one campaign. So it isn't even multi-campaign. It doesn't even include ads. So like, again, I know it's scary, like $200,000, again, to crunch it down. What would they have to pay for that amount of assets to be like, you're full-time content for them. You're also full-time, like promoting them at a stand. Will they make their money back? Oftentimes, like these brand people are smart when they're allocating their budget. They know to the ROI, like we're probably going to break even by month 3 or 4. Okay, the other story I wanted to mention really quickly, it's not as sexy, but it was a $70,000 partnership. And that was exciting that we helped her. So it never was like, hey, here's 70,000, love you, right? It started off with one post. She was a UGC creator in the UK doing food content. Now I know it's not travel, but I think the story still resonates. Started off with one post. Then it was 3. Then it was 5. Then they're like, wait, we really like your work. Can we book you on like a 3-month retainer? Then they ended up giving her the entire $70,000 video budget of the year. So again, like that wasn't just a straight off the bat, here's 70K. And I think a lot of times on the internet, like I always say, like everyone on the internet, like, I don't know, everyone's like 6-figure, like no one ever kind of also shows like, okay, well, like how did that actually happen? And like, that $70,000 partnership that she got from one client didn't start that way. It was built over time through strong work ethic, being easy to work with, good quality work, selling bigger packages. Again, so these things can absolutely happen. These numbers exist.
I'm curious because, of course, sometimes brands say they don't have a budget. Is that usually the end of the conversation, or is there like a specific way to counter offer that might reopen the door?
So not necessarily. Sometimes it's true, right? Like sometimes I go to a store and I'm shopping and the sales girl is like, do you need help? And I'm like, no, I'm good. And I'm not lying. Like I'm not going to buy, like I cannot afford those shoes. Sometimes I'm just looking, And I think that's important for all of us to remember. Like we do it too. We say no to people all the time in sales and it's not personal. It's not because we don't like you. It's because, hey, we just don't have the money. And I think that is a true stance. And I see it happen all the time. Are there brands out there who are lying? Absolutely. They don't have the courage to say you're not a good fit. And they're going to just say they don't have a budget at the moment. But what does that really mean, right? So one of the things I really I pride myself on is helping people with systems in their business. So if you are a hot mess express type of person that doesn't know, not tracking your leads, not tracking your pitches, not really staying on top of it, you're going to let that lead go off into the air and probably never reach out. The best creators are the ones that are able to outline saying, you know what, they said no, not right now, but that doesn't mean I can't pitch them in 3 months or 6 months, right? So the importance of tracking, understanding, is it a hard no? Is it, hey, not right now? We'll talk soon, or keep us mind. It's understanding the type of no, right? Because I think there's a difference between a very clear no and a not right now. So also repitching. I've had clients do this all the time where they'll come back and be like, oh my God, I pitched them again 6 months later, and now they do. So these are not fake stories. This is true. Another thing I think really helps is your response in that. How do you respond to someone saying, we don't have a budget? Is it, all right, sounds good. Like, well, I'd love to stay connected on LinkedIn, or something like that, and actually going and connecting with them on LinkedIn to keep that relationship warm so that you're able to, jump ship, or pitch them again, in the future. Is it a no that's like, oh, we don't really have budget, but like, we'd love to offer you an affiliate? Like, what type of no? There's so many no's. Can we pivot to a call? Hey, listen, how about this? Why don't we do a quick discovery call? I'd love to just get to know you guys. I want to share a bit about myself. No harm, no foul. Like, let's connect. Let's see what happens. Again, your probability of getting a no on email is very high, and your probability of getting a no on email and call goes drastically down. So oftentimes I'll have a creator that's like, okay, I finally got them on a call. And while it's true they didn't have a budget for Instagram, that was a true statement. They also let me know on the call that they're launching a YouTube. Now we found budget. So why is that call powerful? Because you can actually learn what they're working on. And sometimes as a business owner, you just have to take those calls to get to be the Nancy Drew that you are, or the sleuth that you are, to kind of dig for info and then kind of see what happens. Is it a miracle worker? Is it always going to work? Of course not. But it also strengthens your ability to take these calls so that when that good opportunity comes, you're able to pivot it. So to me, that's how I would look at it.
Yeah. And I'd love to dig a little bit into mistakes, because I'm sure there are things people do wrong with all of this stuff, the pitching and all of that. So what are the biggest mistakes that you see creators make that can hurt their chances of getting a pitch accepted?
Really sloppy pitches, AI slop pitches, the ones that just feel like really, really formulated. You guys are creators. You guys get emails from brands all the time. When a brand is copying and pasting, like, dear sir, like, hey, creator, like, we know that. Do we trust them? Do we think they're legit? No, we're like, you're annoying, bye. Right? So I do feel like that AI non-customization, sloppy pitch, that's going to hurt your chances. People are, we all can feel it. I get those emails and I'm like, you didn't even take a second. Or someone's like, hey, Nina, I listened to your podcast on this. And like, I really appreciate, I'm like, oh, you did your research. Look at you. Like, it just creates an energy where you feel trust. So the quality of your pitch, the person you're sending it to, are you sending it to a hello@email.com, or is it an info email, or is it the actual decision maker that's going to decide whether or not you're getting an open, you're getting even a response? I had that to me is a deal breaker. If you're pitching a random email or submitting a form, that doesn't make for successful business. The quality of your media kit. This to me is a hill I will die on. Now, I am biased because I do have a design studio in my company. Like, a big part of what we do is custom media kits. They are expensive. They are not cheap. I always tell people, like, you can definitely do it yourself if you can, if you're the type of learner that's visual and you can crank it out yourself. But again, these are sales tools. So what is in your best interest to get a brand to respond? Is it like a 2-page text-driven media kit that's an eyesore? Or is it, again, a longer media kit that's visual, that shows your podcast episodes, that shows community, that shows testimonials from past partners? Like, to me, that really strong media kit is a game changer and or a deal breaker. I've seen scenarios where that just leads them to be deleted because it just feels unprofessional. And again, it kind of goes back to what we talked about at the beginning of this episode, which was brands want to pay businesses. They don't want to pay hobbyists. So how do the mistakes that you're making may just make you look like you want a free trip, or you just want this is not a business for you. And that presentation piece matters. You want to look polished, you want to look prepared, you want to look credible, trustworthy. These are all those signals that you're giving a brand that you have done this before. And the good thing is, even if you haven't done it before, presenting in a way that feels clean and smart, that's going to like take you up to the next level. Now, I think from a pitch perspective around travel, this is a place where you can, as a travel, especially the writers, if we have any writers listening, like you guys are so good with like angles and storylines and headlines. Like the goal of the email is to not overwhelm someone. The goal of the email is to get them excited. Like, oh yeah, I like that. Like that sounds good. All right, let me look at their media kit. Ooh, she looks legit. All right, I'll take a call with her. Let me just see what she's talking about. It's like having ideas and leaning into some ideas in your pitch, that personalization. Again, it doesn't have to be a whole personalized email, but having a section where you really make it feel like that connection, I think it tends to help with conversions.
Yes. Wow. This was so amazing. Such a great teaser for the workshop we'll be doing in February, which I'm so excited about. I'm so excited to have you just teaching my community all these amazing things. Before we sign off, can you just let everyone know where they can find you?
Yeah. So my company is Sidewalker Daily on everything. So YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. If you look up Sidewalker Daily, you'll find us all there. If you want to connect with me personally, I have my personal Instagram, which is Nina Zadeh. You'll see me hang out over there. And we also have a Substack we just launched. So I'll send you that link, Jesse, so you can take a look. It's called The Paid Creator, and it's kind of like a daily bulletin of just different opportunities and pitch angles and things that we're seeing. So that's a really great place for creators who are looking to find more opportunities.
Amazing. And I will have all of that linked in the show notes.
Thank you.
All right, now I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you feel inspired and empowered to pitch and negotiate high-paying brand collaborations. Don't forget to grab access to the free Travel Blogger resource library linked in the video description or via the QR code on your screen. There are a ton of resources in there on growing your community and increasing your blogging profits, including a high-ticket brand collaborations cheat sheet based on today's video. Also, make sure to register for the free upcoming How to Land Travel Partnerships workshop that I'm co-hosting with Nina at the end of the month in late February 2026. If working with brands on paid campaigns is a goal for you, you will not want to miss it. And of course, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss future videos sharing these strategies for bloggers who want to turn their blogs into profitable full-time businesses. Happy blogging!